There is no intro this time. Expect the unexpected. Well, good evening, everyone. This is your host, and I'm late to the punch with the Switch 2. I had a bunch of folders. I was actually cleaning through stuff for once, and I just see a video for, Switch 2, and I'm like, when did I do that? And I had a whole thing of dialogue prepared, and I'm like, man, that was, months ago when the Switch 2 got, actually now a year ago. Yeah, the Switch 2 came out in, February around that time, right? I believe so. It's closer to, the start of 2025, right? Or no, it might have been September, actually. I think it might have been September, actually. But I just had a 13-minute file in there, and I was just like, what? And now I'm like, man, I forgot to make fun of the Switch 2. I'm like, oh, man, wow, they added some, different colors and whatnot. Oh my gosh, wow. Crazy. All the fire is gone. All my energy is just dissipated. I have no funnies to make fun of it anymore. I really got nothing. I'm like the Hulk from the Marvel's Endgame. I go, boo, stop. It's not there. I have nothing anymore. I'm just like, I just don't care. What was the point in caring anyway? It's like, I mean, it was kind of funny making fun of it, but I think it's a bigger thing now. It's like, oh, I don't want to make fun of it anymore. And I'm like, but I love making fun of stuff. That's my only hobby is making fun of stuff. That's literally my only thing. I contribute nothing to society. But I think this goes to show just a bigger problem with consoles in general, which they're no longer really redefining the way we play video games. We're not transcending like we did earlier back in the day, 2D to 3D, PS1 to PS2. It's don't get me wrong, it's gotten prettier. Games have definitely gotten prettier. Without a shadow of a doubt, they look nice, they feel nicer, they run faster, unless it's a game that's probably come out in the Big 2.5 or Big 2.6, then it's going to make your computer device thing explode. If you ran Cyberpunk on your old PS4 or something, it was going to go boom all over the place. Consoles no longer mark a big development in games anymore. They just are just the means to the end at the moment, which is kind of... I mean, it's not really that big of a deal, but it's very difficult to be hype about. It's very hard to be like, woo, I'm voice critic. I don't want to do his voice right now. I'm tired. I mean, I know people are always like, video games used to not be like they were back in the day. I disagree with that to a degree. I think Silksong crashing the Steam store really shows that people do get very excited about games. It's a massive billion-dollar industry. I'm going to be honest. People are very excited about games. But physical media, that's kind of out the door at the moment. You don't see people lining up for as much as they used to. But because the releases aren't really that physical anymore, you don't see a lot of actual media coverage. I mean, actual news networks being like, man, what's happening at the local GameStop, which is GameStop. But online stores are nice. I'm trying to get back to the point here. If we're talking back in the day, both games and the consoles that went with them were both developing at the same time. Now, what we see is games are still developing, but consoles aren't really developing along with them. But you kind of see what I'm saying. The way we see games really has not really changed much from then PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4, PS4 to PS5. At this point, I feel like we've now gone to the point where it's more about the beautification of games, which isn't really that big of a deal. It's nice that a game looks pretty, but the console doesn't help the sale of the game. Which, the game should always be the main selling point of a console. Don't get me wrong. I feel like it's always important that it's about the library. The library is the most important thing for a console. And that is why Xbox has always messed it up for a console. Let's cancel 8 bajillion games in every studio right now. But Sony was like, oh yeah, we're announcing a PlayStation 6. And they were delaying it due to AI. But the fact that PlayStation 6 already got announced, I'm like, what's PlayStation 6 gonna do? How is it going to transcend the way we already look at games? Besides, it's some prettier games can run a bit better on there. And the answer is they probably don't really. I think it's really just the library that's selling it at this point, which still most important factor about it. But it does make consoles feel so much less cool than they used to be. I feel like Nintendo was actually doing really well with it, even though the Wii U was didn't do the best. I still thought it was an interesting way to take a console. And then the Switch coming out too, I was like, that's really cool. And then suddenly everyone wanted a Switch, or it's like a handheld device. But they were still trying to do something quite interesting with the console, which, I mean, at this point, like, the hardware in the Switch was awful, but it was cool with what you could do with it. Even besides the library, the really, really goated library that it has. I still have to finish Odyssey. I really need to finish Odyssey. I am a horrible person. But then the Switch 2 gets announced, and it's like, oh, that's it? It's just, man, it's not very exciting. I wasn't excited. Well, actually, I wasn't excited about Xbox for a long time. Classic Microsoft. But the console doesn't really add to the appeal of games as much as they used to anymore, which I think is a little bit of a shame. And so you might be thinking, what's the next promising step? Well, you'd probably be like VR, but VR is a lot of just tech demos. I'm gonna be honest. It comes down to the library. Like, VR is expensive. Yes. Is it funky to use? Yeah, it's all of those things. But it is like one of the next steps in a very interesting line of consoles. Or close enough to a console. But when it comes down to it, the library, in my opinion, is the big thing holding VR back. That is the biggest thing. Where it's like they kind of have opposite problems, where it's I think mainstream consoles have the issue where it's like they're not really able to develop anything that's really as cool as it used to be, and VR is struggling with having a very interesting library. I still think it's going to take VR a bit of time before its library can really be like, oh, quite solid. But until then, looking at consoles now, I don't feel like consoles have hit their peak yet. I don't think they hit their peak yet where they can't develop anything more interesting than they do have. I find it questionable, the development of new consoles where they kind of feel unnecessary, like Switch 2. PS6 got delayed, so they get spared for this moment. You get spared, Sony. Because I also think a recent console that's also very cool is the Steam Deck. While, yeah, it's not really doing anything more innovative that the Switch had, taking a Steam library and full of games everywhere is still pretty cool. There's still like the issue with having to have an online connection to start games. That's the big unfortunate part at the moment. I think that really holds the Steam Deck back, which isn't really their fault, but it's still part of the library problem. But I still think being able to bring that library is still such a massive development. I think that is extremely cool. So without a doubt, I still think consoles can be very interesting. But I feel like it can be a little easy to get lazy with it, which I understand. People got really upset at the Switch 2, blah, 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 blah. I don't think it's the worst thing in the world. I feel like it is annoying. The Switch did kind of need that hardware upgrade, though. I'm going to be honest. It was running on, like, toothpaste and glue. Was it really actually that much of a hardware upgrade in general? I don't know. That's a great question. But I still think consoles do need to upgrade hardware to be able to run bigger games. You know? At the end of the day, I still feel like that is a necessary thing. Even though it's like, man, I would rather not spend the money on it. It is still nice. After having... Oh, I accidentally dropped my bottle cap that I dropped onto the ground. But kind of the hope would be like, oh, you know, maybe we could get that working for older gen. But, nah. But, I mean, it is a little hard to get excited for consoles coming out. But ones that show innovation, I still think are really interesting. I also still feel like VR, still definitely the most exciting one out there because it is still like the next level of play. I just feel like if they actually get a solid library, I think VR will be top dog. Hi guys, welcome to my VR chat world. Now, today I'm going to do this thing called